Ian with eTrailer here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the CURT 2-inch trailer hitch receiver on our 2015 Audi Q3. Let's get into a couple features and then that install. This hitch here is a great option for the Q3. This particular neighbor doesn't have a roof rack, so if they've got the whole back of the vehicle all loaded up, this 2-inch receiver is going to give them the option to either throw on that bike rack, cargo carrier, or any other accessory that's going to fit in a 2-inch by 2-inch hole, thus opening up the options for the Audi Q3. And while we're talking about the options for what this hitch can open up for your Q3, as far as the weights on that, we are looking at 3,500 pounds towable and then 525 on that tongue weight. Of course, you would want to check the owner's manual and your vehicle manufacturer specs and make sure that number's not lower, and if it is, stay at that lower number. This is going to feature a 5/8 pin hole. Does not come with the pins, so you will need to look at our options on the website, including those nice locking options that will secure any accessories you've got on the back of your vehicle. And then I do love these safety chain loop styles. They're going to work really well with any Clevis type or maybe S-binder safety chain retainer that you may have. This hitch does sit pretty far under the vehicle, so you don't need to worry about any type of shin hits or anything like that unless you've got a ball or possibly that accessory in there. And while we're talking about that clearance, it is important to factor in the measurement from the center of our hitch pin hole out to the edge of the bumper. We're looking at 6.5 inches. So if you've got any folding accessories, you may want an extension or maybe even a riser since this sits pretty low. While we're talking about how low it sits, from the ground up to the inside of our receiver tube, we are looking at 10.5 inches. And so that's going to give you the idea of once you do have that accessory or whatever you're putting on the back of the Q3 here, how far that ground clearance is going to be on those. For the install on this one, I really wouldn't say it's the worst that you're going to experience, but it's not the best either. We have some trimming we need to do on the fascia, and we're going to have the exhaust hanging down while we put the hitch up. So if you happen to watch the video and think to yourself, I don't want to try to tackle this, please do check out that dealer locator on our website. That's going to give you the opportunity to find a local shop that can help get this put on for you. But for all those DIYers, let's go ahead and hop into the install, get it squared away. We're going to start at the rear of the fascia here, and underneath we've got 2 T27 screws that need to be removed. We're going to be dropping down the exhaust as much as we can, so the best thing to do is have some type of strap or just something to support the exhaust from underneath. We can loosen this up as we need to. Since the hitch slides up over the frame, the most we can get this down is pretty minimal, and even looking at some of our previous videos, it's going to make that hitch pretty tight going into place. At the exhaust hanger here by our muffler and tailpipes, so there's 2 13mm bolts that we'll need to remove. Here towards the passenger side, we've got one more exhaust hanger that needs to come loose, so we'll just spray that down with some soapy water to help give it some movement. And then you can use either an exhaust removal tool or a pry bar and get that pushed off. Up in front of the axle, there is one more we can remove that's just going to help that drop a little lower. Again, using that soapy water mixture to help us slide that out of there. Take that strap and loosen up as much as it's going to let us, but still support, so that way we're not putting any pressure up at the joints at the front of the exhaust. Now the instructions call for you to pull this heat shield out of the way to access this hole. I don't see that being necessary, as we can get some trimmers up in there and just cut out the section we need to cut off. So we'll just go right before the hole. And it's still going to have enough bite to it, even if you wanted to cut the hole out, that you can do that. And that should be more than enough clearance there. We do need to identify the holes we're going to be putting hardware into. We're going to start with our large oval hole here. This is where our bolts and the plates that go along with those are going to be fed through. And so we do need to open this up a little bit. This hole also we're going to be using, you do need to take a 1/2 inch drill bit and widen that one out. And then there's one on the outside of the frame on each side, and on each side, driver and passenger, the holes are the exact same, and you'll have to do the same procedure as far as opening this up with that 1/2 inch drill bit, and then either take a file and cut this back enough, or even a grinding bit, just something that's going to open that to where our carriage bolts and the plates will fit through. So we'll start with our 1/2 inch hole that needs to be done right behind the oval. Now to enlarge that hole, you'll want to go on either the inside or the outside of the frame. What we're trying to do is get to where these carriage bolts will go up in there nice and clean, and then once we've got confirmation that it will go up, we can just pull them back out. For now, we want to take one of the fish wires that we've got. You can uncoil that. Do put a hook at the end. That's going to sit through the hitch a little later on, and I'll explain that further once we get there. But we're going to take the coiled end of our wire, and I like to start with the one on the outside of the frame, so we're just going to feed that through and bring it over to our oval hole. And we'll get just enough wire out to be able to slide one of the longer rectangular plates into place, and then you can thread on the bolt right behind it. Go all the way to the end of the coil. Push the plate up first, followed by our carriage bolt here. Just going to leave that where it's at. You'll kind of want to make sure if you can peek up in there and see if the plate is going onto the bolt, even if you wanted to pull it all the way through that frame hole there and then push it back in just so the plate's in place. That one, we're going to have to leave just the wire hanging out because we are going to be sliding the hitch up over the frame. Now we're going to do the same thing we did, just coming through that bottom hole that we opened up and feeding our coil through the oval hole, repeating rectangular bracket along with that bolt. And plate will go in first, followed by our bolt. And we'll make sure that lines up and pull that one down and through. The last bit of hardware we're going to put into place is going to be going in the oval hole, so we'll do it slightly different than we did the other two. You're going to put the plate and the bolt on, feeding the bolt through first, followed by the plate, and then we'll allow that to hang out of that oval hole. Make sure you put your hooks on the end because we are going to be feeding that through the hitch. Once you've got your passenger side in place, it is the exact same procedure over on that driver's side. So you are going to want a second pair of hands to put this hitch up. I've got Jesse here helping me, and we're going to lift that up and over that exhaust, kind of focusing on our driver's side first. Getting that back behind the fascia is going to be the other trick, so you will have to kind of force that forward just so it can sit where it needs to, and then work up our passenger side. And we'll take our fish wire from the side first. We'll take that side mounted fish wire, run that through the back of the hitch, and pull that one through. And then same situation for the other two, going through the inside of the hitch here, going outwards, and then that third one goes to the back. Take one of the nuts just on one of the sides, get that finger tight, that way it'll hold itself in place and you can focus on that other side. Once we've got a bolt set on each side and have those nuts holding the hitch up into place, you'll see there is quite a bit of pressure pushed against the fascia here at the rear. You can use the tin snips that you used to trim up the heat shield when we did that, or I'm going to be using a multi-tool just to trim as far as I can in to relieve some of that pressure, and then we can go back and cut out any of the plastic that is in the way. Once we've got that pressure relieved, we should be able to get those two side bolts through, and then we'll be able to put the nut onto those. So just like we did for the other one, once it's fed through. So on the passenger side, you may find that that top side mounted bolt is going to be extremely difficult, and it seems like it's either a quarter of an inch or an eighth of an inch off to be able to line up. What I found was on the inside bracket of our hitch, it's actually hitting this little bolt that's coming out. So what will have to happen is, it's a 13 millimeter head. You just back that out about an eighth of an inch. I found that one was already backed out, and so we didn't run into that. But since that lines up with the bracket there, you will want to back that one out enough to be able to have your side bolt on that passenger side pass through the hitch. Come back through with either a 3/4 wrench or socket and just get all of those at least tight to where we don't have to fight as much when we go to torque them to the specification shown. You need to go back through and torque everything to the specification shown in the instructions. That being said, if you don't have a torque wrench, you can pick one up from us along with your order, or head down to that local parts store and they should be able to rent one out to you. We just need to get our exhaust back into place, get our couple pieces of hardware back in the fascia, and that's going to conclude the install. And that's going to do for our look at and installation of the CURT 2-inch trailer hitch on our 2015 Audi Q3. My name's Ian with eTrailer, and I appreciate you watching.